Good morning, Belize. It's Tuesday, and this is the morning show with Ernesto and Troy. Good morning, Troy.
Hey, Ernesto, good morning, and let me say pleasant good morning to Belize, wherever you are throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful jewel of ours. We welcome you to this morning's broadcast of the morning show right here on Love FM and Love Television. And no, I did not sleep here. It is the 18th day of August, and we certainly want to wish you, a happy
did not
birthday.
sleep here, but you slept at home, right?
Yes,
Okay,
at
just
home.
make sure of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't declare where I slept, but I made sure I wasn't here. And of course, because today is the 18th day of August, and if it's your birthday, we will say happy birthday. If it's your anniversary, we're glad you stuck it out. You bought the Bolido last night, and you bought 54. Well, you are much richer this morning. 54 was the number drawn last night. If you won, congrats, of course. And if not, another draw comes up tonight, right here on Love FM and Love Television at 9:10 p.m. As they say, Ernesto, you got to be in it to win it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect to win it if you're not
I think
in
I'll
it.
need to start buying Bolido.
You need to follow Williams' scientific calculations, the numerologist. He was the numerology expert. You know, it's a tongue twister. He cipher out the numbers.
I think you have to start to interpret dreams as well, right? To know what you dream and what you hear.
Well, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Because you actually have books that gives you the number associated with certain dreams. You know, in my grandmother used to have what they call a dream book.
Or they call it King Tut.
King Tut dream book. Yes, and it tells you what, if you dreamt of fire or snake or whatever it is.
What it means.
Right, and a number assigned to it.
Like the wife was having a birthday, right? And she tell her husband, she said, boy, I dreamed last night how I had a nice diamond necklace and bracelet. What do you think that mean? And he tells her, well, when the birthday comes, you'll find out. So her birthday came and gave her a present. When she opened it, the book was said, how to decipher dreams.
Oh, then you have to go see what diamond plays and so on. Then maybe if you buy it,
no,
you have enough money to buy it.
She was thinking of buying the diamond.
It was hint. Well, the reality is that it's game of chances, of course, and some time you win, sometime you lose. Some people are more luckier, if that's the case, than like William, who tends to get an opportunity
you have people
win
that
quite
are
often.
Convinced, or they say they are, that they win. They win. But like everything else, you have to invest big to win big.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You have to make that decision. You can't leave two pieces here and win $10 and $15. You have to go big too.
Yeah. Some persons are. It's like a business, because let's look at it from the macro level. It's almost $130 million we spend annually on Bolido and Latre, and the payout is about 70% of that, so it's all around, maybe around 75 million. So that's how much money is going back into the system. To people that are winning. So it certainly, yes, it's spread around, but some persons do hit it big.
But it's making a profit, so that less, more being spent than being won.
Well, you have to take care of the operations, and of course, the house have to make a little profit from it, because that's why you have that split. I mean, it may not be totally organic, but for the most part, you could control it to some extent by capping the amount of numbers that of any one number that you would sell, so that you don't get fleece. Because in the past, that used to happen if you
because
didn't have
there is no rigging with this one.
Yeah.
This is luck. You know,
Yeah.
this is no rigging.
But somebody
you know.
could go and buy I don't know, say a million piece and buy luck.
You know, it's been done in the U.S. People have
Yes.
done the numbers on the lottery
Yeah.
and managed to win a few $1,000,000.
Yeah, but
Because-
the difference with that is that you already know what the declared amount that they're going
Right,
to pay you. But usually, like how we used to have Lotto and so, and Pick 5, you already know
What the price is.
the price is going to be.
Yeah.
In this case, it could be any humongous number based on how much pieces of number you buy. So the house have to be, meaning the Belize Lotteries Limited have to kind of manage it in such a way that somebody don't put a run on the
Right.
on the house.
Well, it's kind of been done, you know. I mean, I think they had a group that did a computer run of the likely numbers that would play, and they spent over $1 million in buying tickets because the jackpot was like 60 or 70 million. You know,
Over
and
in
they,
the
and they
US.
took all the possibilities that could play and bought them.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
people will team up, pool their resources together as an investment, and so. But in Belize, we cap it to some extent, which makes a lot of sense because you could get one big hit could break the bank.
That's right.
You know, and,
Could.
and and because this is also used as a development fund, the profit goes back into the
Right.
overall
Definitely
improvement
helping
of the
our health
society,
system.
NHI, sports, and so on. No? So it's the proceeds are also earmarked for society, or the economy upliftment.
Agreed. Alrighty, folks, it's 22 minutes before 7 o'clock. Before we tell you this morning, we'll be looking at, I think subjects that interest us. All has to do how we are running our little country. One has to do with we have an office in Geneva, and our ambassador there, Harold Young, will be joining us this morning, tell us what is it that he does. And of course, we'll be talking to Dylan Vernon, who's done some research on campaign financing. Stay with us. We'll be right back with that. Once again, good morning, Belize, and we are just 60 minutes away from 7 o'clock. This is The Morning Show. 203-2098 is our phone number. Give us a call. We are open to chat with you at this point before we have our guests. We have a few minutes on.
A few minutes. I saw an interview with the Auditor General this morning.
Yeah, that's another breaking
Yeah, I think he was pointing out,
story.
especially that situation where they were offering Jungle Tour using the BDF, and the BDF was not getting the proceeds until such time that the audit got done or were in process that they decide to make the payment. It's one of those things that the audits have to be quicker because we're looking at something that happened eight years ago or longer, 8 years ago. The time lag to make corrective measure is just too long. The idea is that you do it as current as you possibly can, and normally 12 months. Audit is looking at what had already occurred. It is after the fact when you're doing the audit to kind of verify what happens. So normally in standard operation it is done, maybe 90 days or so after the AI is concluded. So like a 2025 audit should already been completed or almost completed for that matter, because we're already done in the 8th month after 2025 has concluded, so that you could make corrective measures if it is that the audit flags some sort of inconsistencies or issues that it believes to be in contravention or affecting the operations of the entity.
Where you think this should lead? I mean, this is only one ministry they're looking at, really, one department. And the complaint has always been that generally the audits have not been done on how the public purse is spent for years. So, this is like the Auditor General said, if the government is looking for transparency and to fix things, this has to go all the way.
Yeah. I remember when you say government, it's not political parties we're talking about.
No, it's just...
because really oftentimes we get caught up with the polarization. We're talking in general...
We're talking about governments.
Yeah, about governments, because over the years, government have paid little interest to the audit process. We went through the whole issue of the Public Accounts Commission, all that back and forth over the last, the Barrow administration for 13 years with Julius Espat and trying to get things regularized. You notice that we didn't get much.
No.
There's
2018. JPAC was formed.
And then we combine it now and put in the part of the civil society, so we could make it a joint Public Accounts Committee where it has more eyes and more supposedly pressure. And we're still floundering.
Yeah.
And you know what the uniqueness about this particular House Committee? It is chaired by the opposition. And so they are the ones that should be pushing the charge.
It's like trying to repair a car, and then you say, okay, let's make sure it works well, and then you get there and say, but I don't got the tools.
Well,
I don't have the parts.
Well, you have
to get it done. That's where we are.
So my issue is that we will talk about all of these things in a utopic fashion. And when we really get down to the nuts and bolts, we realize that the government system is such a behemoth creature that it's so difficult for even that small little Auditor General office to deal with.
That was never given the priority it deserved.
And even if you give it the priority, how big will you make it?
Well, it has to work.
And so we have to devise systems that are a little bit more structured if each ministry gets their own auditing team that feeds information into the
Is
Auditor
that the way
General.
it's supposed to be handled?
Well, not
Set up?
necessarily. If you listen to
There's a
the-
finance officer in every,
yeah, but that's
every
not
department.
that's an accounting officer. That's
Yeah.
not an auditor.
I agree.
So
Well, he
their
keeps the
function is
records.
different. Yeah, but the function is different. You see, their function and what they're looking for is different. What you want is to have somebody who can look at the ministry in more real time. While you have an internal auditor, internal auditor deals immediately, like 1
But-
month after, they do a review
But
of
is
the
that-
operation.
I
Most
suspect that
ministries
is all
don't
in
have that.
place.
Most ministries
All
don't
these,
have that.
the public service has
You
they have
have-
books written on how this should
You
work.
have public officers, yeah, but
Yeah.
I need to create the distinction because any professional person will say, Troy, you can't mix up the two things. You know that, not so it works. So just to be extremely professional is that your finance officer is there to follow the regulation in terms
That's
of how
right.
the finances
how
and
the money
ministry
is
going to be
like
spent.
like every company or
managed.
every household or whatever, you get a budget and you manage
But that's not the auditor. Because that person,
Agreed.
that
But if
the
an-
auditor
so when
comes
the auditor
afterwards and
comes,
say,
it. So show me how you spend the money.
that is why
And they
I'm
need to do
I'm
it more
suggesting,
often.
if you go back to the news, the CEO in the Ministry of Defense says we have now gotten an internal auditor to assist us in looking at some of these issues and tighten up things because the auditors are coming after the fact and looking at whether or not you are in compliance.
Was the audit department also, negligent, not coming and checking as often as they should?
Well, there's enough blame to go around.
Oh,
Quite honestly, I'm not here to indict anybody.
are you know the saying?
But enough blame to go around whether they didn't give them the information, whether they had their own internal problems, because they all had mess too. They had issues. They probably still not all on the same page yet because they have their own personal issues where we've seen it spill over into the public domain when you had the previous Auditor General there, Dorothy Bradley.
Yeah.
She had problems dealing with many of her staff or vice versa. And so that also slows down
Yeah.
the whole process of getting into these ministries. and
Because this is the public service and the government, again, accountability doesn't seem to apply.
Well,
Because
that-
somebody's, like you said, there's enough blame to go around.
Well, you see,
Now, who sets the blame and who?
You see,
who-
accountability is only present because we create this problem. Yeah, somebody would call, or you would call, somebody say, how this one going to jail, or when this one going to jail? And you have to kind of enlighten people because one of the things that I have a difficulty with is the Auditor General creating a sort of expectation. Because she comes out and talk about conflict of interest and there's a lot of that. I felt that she was
not
out
her-
of line to me.
to say that.
Yeah, she was ahead of herself. Because at the end of the day, you create an expectation and then you find out you don't have all of that smoking gun that you're talking about. And now the system get distrusted again because you didn't deliver on that expectation that you created.
Well, we are talking here of decades of public skepticism,
But that's
you don't
fine.
Need a lot, you don't need to.
But that's
you're not
fine.
creating
Ernesto,
anything new.
But there's a professional code that you have to follow. So you don't come and say to me,
Not publicly, at least.
You don't say, like somebody calls, I repeat again, who I get this one need to go to jail and that one, but you don't get there. You don't get there just by you saying it. There's a process, and I always try to remind persons that there's due process.
The problem is that our due processes are not working.
But it
You're
doesn't.
telling me to depend on a horse to go 20
Well,
miles.
then
I
you're
know
not
the
going to
horse
get
won't
there.
make it.
You-
Exactly.
So
at some point, somebody has to.
But you can't get
have
from
to
here
break-
to here without going step by step. You have to go step by
This-
step. You see how difficult it was to.
They have the same way said the squeaky wheel get the oil.
But
The other wheels need oil too,
Yeah,
but
but-
because they don't squeak, they don't get the oil.
But-
That's why. So maybe the general here is acting like the squeaky wheel. Look, I have to bring this out. I have to say this, because again, if I don't say it, I'll just be doing what my predecessors have done in the past.
But then if you
So if I
can't
want to
deliver
rock
on
it-
what you're saying, because you keep saying it's not her to classify what a conflict of interest. She can say what it recognizes. That's a legal terminology that has to be established more than likely in a court of law. So to come out and say, because I can look at anything and call it anything I want. We've seen that happen in the United States, and I could call it anything I want.
Yeah, we're doing that right now.
You know, and I can and fight to convince you that that is so. But that does not make it so.
No.
So the point I'm
Somebody has to
trying
make
to
it so.
emphasize that oftentimes we must have this discussion on an even keel, so that persons don't get distorted, because emotions are a dangerous thing, you know. When you get people work up
Well,
to a point, they can be,
are we good at that?
they can inflict pain on an economy and a society by being misled. And all I'm saying is that we need to be extremely careful when we do these discussions, because most of the time, barroom talk and having these public conversations like this is different. Because I now have a responsibility. Maybe at a bar we could kind of join into the bantering and say these things, but when we're on this public airwave now, and you're going to be tested legally.
Don't underestimate or downplay barroom talk, you know. Some of the best decisions have been made on pillows or in barrooms.
That's decision. But I'm talking things like, boy, this man thief and that one thief. We throw around these terminologies at the bar. We accuse people, we scandalize them, defame people willy-nilly. And I'm saying that I've heard it several times, and I always have to tell people, you know what? You would not be able to say that in a public domain because you are going to be held legally liable. So we
Do you
have
think
to
her saying, I suggest that they go straight to the police and not do internal?
No, she can make any recommendation she wants.
That's a recommendation.
She can make recommendations.
Hello, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I like what you're speaking about today. The
Go ahead.
Unka, no?
Yes,
Bring on the Unka. That was the tax.
Oops.
Oh, sorry, caller. It's not us.
No, not us at all.
Yes, that's
Not us at all.
somebody sent me pictures of bunch of people going to Melchor. Well, we spoke about that last night.
Yeah, it was really crowded. Melchor was. I think they had like 30 odd buses at the border, and the lines were long, and
Yeah.
and that's even though we had a GST free weekend,
yeah.
which I don't know where. Again, it'd be good to know if sales were better because of the GST free weekend. I would think so.
They had a super sale on Albert Street. I don't know what the global impact is. I mean, countrywide, but I'm told that was very well attended.
Yes.
But again, like you say, yeah, the tax department would be able to say how impactful that particular weekend was, no?
Caller, good morning. This is Love. You're on the air.
Yes. I got a question to you and sorry.
Why?
It's too early for questions, man.
What fall and break and does that make a song?
What's that?
Say again?
What fall and break and does that make a song?
Oh, it falls and break and doesn't make a song.
What falls and breaks?
It doesn't make a song.
No, I will not. Tell us.
That night and day.
Night and day. Oh,
Night and day. Oh, night falls.
Fall
and day break. Yeah. Well, you wake up too early.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carla. Yeah, well, Ernesto, we could take a quick break.
Yeah.
I was told by our producer we'd take a quick break and then we get our guests
We'll continue with the show.
on the couch.
Grow What?
Take it back.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And it's 2 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is The Morning Show, live from our studios in Belize City. We have a guest in studio in the person of Harold Young, who's the ambassador and permanent representative of Belize to the United Nations office in Geneva. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're
Good
far
morning,
away from
Belize.
you're far from your office.
Yes.
You lock it up or somebody?
No,
You
lock up.
lock up?
Lock up.
Not really lock up physically, but I still up online. The remotely work. So
Yeah. What's a typical day for you?
a typical day is I check my schedule because usually I have to make sure I need to know where I need to be, and then I open the office. But I don't have the office doesn't do immigration or that sort of thing. We don't do anything like that. So there's no forward facing. Everything is done from in London.
Yeah.
So I'm focused mainly on organizations that are in the UN. So I look at my schedule. I either have a meeting at the UN itself, WTO, or some of the other organizations. I'm responsible for UN, WTO, International Labour Organization, World Trade Organization. World Intellectual Property Organization, World Telecommunications Union, and Arms Control.
And these are mostly the head offices for those are
Yes,
in
these are the
Geneva.
offices. Yes, these are the organizations. These are huge campuses, right?
Yeah.
All of them have a huge
Yeah.
campus. These are the organizations that actually carry out the work of the UN itself. What the UN decides in New York, Geneva is like the executive and execute what they say.
Okay, the implementation.
The implementation and do all the negotiation below in the next tier from the UN in New York.
Why
So
is it
it's all
important
very
that
active.
Belize have an office?
Well, there are a number of reasons. On the first layer of it would be that as a independent country, we accepted and a member of the UN, we accepted certain obligations to the international community, and we have not been represented in Geneva and the WTO in over 20 years. So I'm like the first ambassador, right? And if we do not are not responsive or do not live up to obligations, that affects how the world views the country, and then it affects us how we can get trade, how we get loans. If we are not seen as a viable, responsive, accountable, transparent country, then the rest of the world doesn't take us seriously.
Yeah.
So-
In that world, you need to be seen.
You need to be seen, and you need to be credibly represented, and you need to be responsive and make sense when you speak, right? So, I've seen comments on Facebook where they say, why they spend their money wherever they go on some conference, why not give it to help some single mothers? Well, single mothers are worthy of help, right?
The world don't work like
that's
that.
not the issue, but to in the big picture, to make the systems work better and for us to take our place in the world so we can participate viably and be a viable country, then we need to have representation and effective representation.
Yeah.
Not just...
So it's like the old saying, out of sight, out of mind.
Oh, absolutely. And out of mind, not just out of mind, it could be negative, where they don't take you seriously, right?
Yeah.
Even if you say something, they don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
So it's very important. It's very important that we do that. And then on the other level, for the WTO, for example,
Which is the World Trade
World Trade Organization, everything is done by consensus, meaning that every country has an equal vote.
Okay.
So if you are not there to vote, then you just
Yeah, your voice is not heard.
you just don't hear anything, right? You don't play any role. And Belize, and again, for people say, well, Belize is small, nobody cares what we say, right? And maybe you could argue that, but we do not operate in any of these forums, whether it's UN in Geneva or in New York or Organization for American States, or we don't operate in a vacuum by ourselves. We move around we are part of CARICOM, which we coordinate very well. The CARICOM countries, ambassadors and the delegations have been amazing to Belize and to me personally. So we operate in that circle. We align our policies, we get
Like
information, we share in that block. And then within that, we're in the African, Caribbean, Pacific group, which is a bigger group. And then within that group, you have the African group and the Pacific group, and you have the LDC, Less Developed Countries group. So we are integrated in these groups, and that's how we get to develop policy. when a lot of times when laws are made in Belize, it's because it's been influenced by it, and not wrongly. We're just aligning ourselves
Yeah.
with the world so that we can operate.
When you look at the structure of the whole trade component, is it important for us to have that vote? Because one would say, like you said, we're small, but doesn't that create that level of equity? Because it doesn't matter whether you're a large country with a large population, you're still one vote, like
Yes.
my one vote.
Yes.
So I do have that level of influence as well.
But, and to make it like tangible, if even a small country or lots of small countries, right? Because a lot of countries are small. If we are there and there's something, a policy, and we have some objection or some concern, then they will say, "What is your concern?" And we'll say, "Well, our concern is this." They say, "Okay, let's help you overcome that." If you're not there, then they just will make it and
Yeah,
you are
yeah,
ignored, right?
yeah.
But if you're there, you can say, "Well, we are concerned about this aspect."
Yeah.
And they will say, "Okay." And it's, a lot of times, it's not. It wouldn't just be Belize. It would be a block of countries that have some of the similar
Yeah.
concerns, and they say, "Okay, well, to get this agreement, we'll work on these concerns so that you can then join in and agree." So if we're not there, then
No,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know your concerns aren't
Yeah,
raised.
yeah, because people have this concept of diplomats,
Just sitting around.
drinking
Yeah,
wine.
champagne. Yes.
champagne.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, and another thing Ernesto mentioned earlier about some importing, doing things
Yeah.
through customs, right? So a really concrete thing. Lots of people in Belize have done have done even small and large. So even individuals and companies, right, do things with customs. And of course, there is always a frustration. It takes long, or there's some kind of bureaucratic thing, right? So one of the things that's being worked on right now is what they call a single window. So if you want to import or export something, you go to one portal, and all the agencies are there. So you don't have to go to Baja, then go to customs, then go to this one and that one. Everybody is through there, and you put in one thing. But to do that takes expertise. It takes human resource training and things like that. And it's not something you just know. You have to learn, right? And that's how we get the technology and the information and the human resource development is through WTO. They will help us construct these frameworks
Yeah,
to
yeah.
improve the system. And we have improved. We're still a long way to go. We have moved from weeks to days, and then there are some countries that are passing things in hours. So there's a way to go, but it's a process. And if you're not plugged into the system, it's very difficult to bring yourself up to the world standards, which is what we're trying to get to.
How moving in your circles within the diplomatic corps, what's the kind of feeling like, especially the fuel, the petrol situation,
yes,
and how it's impacting them in your circles?
Yeah,
Is it feeling? Are they feeling it the same way we are feeling it?
Absolutely. Sometimes even more. There's definitely at those levels serious concern and I could dare say disgruntlement with what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Some countries have more cushion than others, right? Even some, but there are some countries that from the get-go they're already rationing, for example,
Yeah.
and limiting movement. I could give you one example is Sri Lanka, who is much bigger than Belize. I mean, Sri Lanka is a developing country, but it's still much bigger than Belize,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And they had ration protocols in and movement protocols where you can't drive on certain days, only certain people, license numbers can drive. So yes, it's a serious concern. And then there, of course, as you know, there are spillover effects. It's not just the oil, it's what you do with oil products, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's fertilizer,
Yeah.
whether it's the gases for MRIs and all,
yeah.
so it's a whole spillover. So yes, there's some serious concern and I don't want to say bewilderment, but kind of like uncertainty that
Yeah.
we're not sure where this is going. And countries like Belize that don't have piles of natural reserves, oil reserves, I mean, that can help even out prices, we are extremely susceptible to it.
Yeah.
And the word is vulnerable. We're a vulnerable economy, right? And we have lots of vulnerable economies. The whole Caribbean is basically a vulnerable
Yeah.
economy, except for, well, Guyana.
Guyana,
But seriously, yeah, it is something that's very concern. And to give examples of, just to give you like an example of what could happen in a meeting. So in a huge meeting, there are 166 members, right? Belize is one of 166. And in a meeting, you could have arguments, because people don't argue in the traditional sense, but statements being made, and you have, just very quickly, you'd have, the Arab world spatting with Israel, so they're firing at each other, right? And then you have the EU and Ukraine spatting with Russia, right? And then so
And then
you have
Donald Trump on the other side.
then you have
wanting
the
to
US,
get
the
rid of
US,
the WTO rules.
Yeah. So these things play out in real time there, right? China, you have China, and people think China is a big player. China is, depending on how you want to say, quietly or loudly, one of the most significant partners,
Yes, it is.
players
Which
in the field, not militarily, but economically, they're one of the most significant partners. And so, if we are not there, we'll be left out. And another really important thing is something called a TPR, which is a trade policy review. So all countries, every country in the world does a trade policy review. So what they do is they come in and they review all the laws dealing with trade, and they come and they review it with you. It's not punitive.
Okay.
It's to help you analyze where you are. So you will say you're doing well in this area, you're clearing up problems in this area, you're lacking in this area, and then they provide technical assistance to help you do it.
What's your, but Libelise, yourself, obviously, you must have an objective or something that you need to accomplish.
Yes.
What keeps you awake at night while you're there, and how, because it's who you know, how you manage to
Sure,
present
how you
your
interact.
message,
Yeah,
and this is good.
Yeah.
What gives you the biggest problem over there? Would affect our little Belize?
Yes, yeah. No, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think I would start off with, and most people, MSMEs, medium, small enterprise, which comes Beltrade, the Beltrade project, right? That is extremely important. Over 80% of our economy is SME, small and medium size, right?
Yeah.
So the goal is to get the people, whether it's a mom and pop or 10, or I think small is up to maybe 50 employees or something, right? Then medium is so it's to make the environment the most conducive to them to produce and to export.
Now, how did WTO come into this?
Because they set the legal frameworks and the funding for that to happen. They give us the technical assistance to help the organizations here transition from just producing to take it to the market. I mean, take it to sell on the side, to produce it in a form that can be exported. Because there are standards. You can't just export any quality control and packaging and weight and all that kind of stuff. We have to get that infrastructure in place to be able to do it. We have many successful stories, right? But the premier flagship story is Marie Sharp. Right? That's our flagship story, right? We have many. We have the cacao from the south. We have lots of things. But that's like the flagship thing. So how do we create the environment, the framework for people who either are already working and want to grow and export, or people who want to start? And so Beltrade is key and does some very innovative things for Belize, like the road show, which will be featured in the WTO in October.
Okay.
Right, so we get to show the
That
world.
gives us relevancy.
Yes, but and also we can't only be a taker. We have to contribute.
We always give a handout.
Yeah, we have to contribute. So we will showcase what we are doing, and other countries will learn and things. But on the other side, we have you asked about who we interact with. We interact with CARICOM, but there are some countries that we are working close with. Like the partial scope agreements that we do. We have got Mexico. We just signed one with Salvador. Working on one in Honduras. They're working on one in the Bahamas.
When these things happen, you kind of have to report this to the WTO.
Well, that's
where you are?
Yes, it has to be. You have to report to WTO.
Okay.
It has to be reported to WTO. They keep track of all
And
these
that's
things.
a trade agreement.
That's a trade agreement,
actually
right?
have, yeah.
And it's kind of what they call like a carve out, where they give you special dispensation too. do these special agreements. But yes, those things have to be recorded, notification, transparency.
This
The
is what
other thing
Belize
for
is doing.
people, the other thing which we are very concerned about in Belize, I mean, just domestic stuff, is transparency. How transparent are the police? How transparent are the financial of Belize, the financial accounting of Belize, right? So when people say, why are you bothering with these? Well, these individual bodies help us, the people, with transparency. Because they come in and say, listen, this is not transparent. You need
So-
to meet the standard.
So you are, at some point you have to report how
Notifications.
better run your country
Yes.
is,
Yeah,
how the
exactly.
governance of your country.
Exactly. There's a
So
whole
there is some
notification
politics
schedule.
involved here.
Yes, there's whole notification schedule. And there's some things that we will not give notifications on, right? Not just Belize, lots of countries.
So we just read the news about how we've been mishandling our funds in some of the ministries. That has to be reported to them.
No, not that kind of notification. No, not that kind of notification.
But that's
the-
governance,
No,
so
no,
when
no.
we are
That's,
governed-
but we're not reporting events. We're reporting structures. So are the structures there?
You have your auditor general, you have
Yes,
your
you have the
contractor
structures
general, you
there
have
for the structures for accountable. We don't want to report incidents. That's
Yeah.
not. It's not a police force.
That's another part of
Yeah, that's not a
your-
police force. It's not a police force. So like we have to report licensing for imports. Like if we import something, we have to
Okay.
report if we have licensing, agriculture.
So
it's
you're not like with UNCAC and these things. That's not part
yeah,
of
we're
your
connected to
department.
UNCA. We're connected to.
Yeah,
No,
It's
I
a
mean,
United
are
Nations
we?
Convention.
Yeah,
That's
we are.
No, but I'm saying.
No, not me personally.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No, not
No,
me
that-
personally.
your office.
No,
I'm
not
talking
my
about your
office.
office.
No,
No,
no.
that's not-
But it's not just UNCAT. There are lots of other accountability things through WTO.
Yeah, we have said we will sign
will
on
say-
to, and
One that's coming up, I mentioned trade policy review. That's one of the things for accountability, right? Transparency, accountability. There's one coming up for torture. No, Belize, we don't have any. Well, anyway, we do a review, and that's coming up.
Yeah.
So you have multiple of these things
Yeah.
cycling through.
We don't
Human
believe
rights.
something like that would.
But we have to report what
Yeah.
are reporting things, what if there were any
Yeah.
cases, how you handle them.
Yeah.
So that keeps the country accountable, and that's important.
One of the big ticket items that been plaguing the globe, I would think, is the tariff of the United States being
Yes.
one of the biggest economy. That there seems to be this fluctuation in your circles. How does this
Well,
impact?
the unilateral tariffs are a violation of WTO.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not speaking out of
well, that's
school.
what brought
Everybody-
up
that's
Trump.
a violation.
Because Trump
right?
is
Yeah.
That's a violation.
actually he wants to break the WTO apart. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's a violation. And no, I mean Ernesto, I'm not gonna go as far as what you're saying, but there is concern that the countries have to hold it. We have to hold it together. And let me just give some statistics why. 80% of the world's trade is under the auspices of WTO. It is important.
No, the WTO has
right?
worked.
And it has worked.
Has worked.
And the global economy has grown, never to anybody's real satisfaction, of course, because we always want better, right?
Better, right.
But there has been growth. We have seen tangible improvements in significant parts of the world, some not as great as others, but Belize has benefited and CARICOM has benefited, and so one of the reasons that we need to be there is to try and hold on to the gains, improve the organization, but hold on to the gains, not throw the baby with the bathwater.
What are the countries like you have the Security Council in the United
the big
Nations,
countries
which
in
is
WTO.
having their own issues,
Yeah.
and of course we have to be part of a body so to hear our voice.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
only Belize,
Yes,
but
yes.
we
We speak independently, but we
CARICOM
speak
and so- yes.
within the
Yeah,
groups too, yeah.
Who do you find have the more clout, or within when you're in these gatherings, when the representative of some country stands
Sure.
up, everybody listens.
Sure. Oh yeah. That's
you
very
know,
good. Well,
things
the United States, of course, when they speak, everybody listens, right?
Yeah.
The EU, because remember in this organization, the individual countries in the EU don't speak. Rarely speak.
Speaking blocks.
The EU, there's an ambassador from the EU that speaks.
Okay.
The other countries are there. You see the name tags, but they don't speak. The EU. So it's the EU. So United States, EU, Canada, important. The UK, important.
So China.
China, of course. India, always listen to India. Brazil, listen to Brazil, right? Singapore has some pull, a little bit.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
kind of like an auxiliary, supporting character. South Korea, supporting
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Turkey, don't forget Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People listen to Turkey. So there are countries that listen, but so, and I'm not going to say they don't like just to use Belize. I'm not going to say they don't listen to Belize. And here's the interesting thing: why they will listen to Belize, or they will listen to Jamaica, or they will listen to Barbados or Guyana, right? Is because CARICOM has an excellent reputation in these world forums as being reasonable, being steady, not being particularly ideological or thing. And so when when we speak, they listen to what we're saying because we have that. And CARICOM, to use the expression, punches way above its weight in these organizations. Like the ambassador from Jamaica leads big committee, major committee led by the ambassador from Jamaica. Ambassador from Barbados, he leads, he actually just stepped down from leading the MSME subcommittee, which has 106 members. And he was a chair. And now he's gone to another organization. Because just like Belize, they cover the other organizations. Guyana leads agriculture, the agriculture discussions for the world. So we are very well represented and respected. And when the other countries want to push a proposal, for example, on some issue, CARICOM will be consulted independently of anybody else, of other groups rather. We don't. So they will say CARICOM is having a meeting with the Director General from wherever, or the ambassador from somebody's, So I've been in meetings with the EU reps, right, where it's just Belize, ACP, and I think OECS was there. OECS is also important.
Have we
So we there's meaning in being there.
Okay.
We just have to play the by yourself and how you work with the groups.
Have we ever dovetailed or blocked with SICA or Central America?
Yeah, no, but so there's another group. There's SICA is not that, SICA is having some problems, honestly, right?
Okay.
There are a couple of countries that, having some problems. But there's something called GRULAC. Don't ask me exactly what it means. But it's Latin America and the Caribbean. So there's a bigger group, and we're in that as well. And that's not just WTO, that's for the UN as well. So GRULAC is another big group that we participate in.
The Central American issue is again linked right back to the United States.
Partially.
You got like Guatemala is very pro-Israel.
But it's not Guatemala. Right now, it's not Guatemala.
No. What I'm saying is
For
that's the
SICA.
point of the thing with SICA.
Yeah, but that's not the problem.
Some
with
of
SICA.
these countries politically are realigned.
Yeah.
For instance, Taiwan versus China. Honduras just dropped Taiwan.
Yeah.
All these things. It's a more
Who is the problem?
dynamic environment.
Nicaragua and
Nicaragua, yeah.
Costa
yeah,
Rica,
okay.
yeah. Well, Nicaragua seem to have their
So that
own issues.
you're right when it comes to
but
that.
yeah. But CARICOM is still, despite the stuff, the uproar a little bit with Trinidad, right? And all the things we hear, when it comes to diplomatically, CARICOM is our bedrock.
Harold,
as much as we turn into Central America. Mexico. Sorry, Mexico.
Mexico,
is very
yes,
important.
Mexico.
Mexico is very important for us.
Yes, but
Absolutely.
that brings me to my question: where does the UK fit with us in this whole scenario?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a fair.
Being the mother country,
that's a fair
and all
question.
that.
Yeah, well.
And besides that, as extension, the Commonwealth. Are we getting any benefits from the Commonwealth?
Yes, we are. We are.
do?
Yes, we are. So we get benefits in a number of ways.
I mean, influence.
Hold on. Directly for Belize, the Commonwealth has something called the Commonwealth Small State or Office. And that office supports small missions in covering the WTO and UN committees to help us prepare for meetings. They have staff to help us prepare in that sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because we can't afford all.
We can't.
those
I'm the only person there, right?
You don't one-man show?
A one-man show. So we get support. They have different people assigned to different areas that help support us, and there's also a building that we're going to move into where their office is that houses multiple embassies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
OACS is there, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States is there, Guyana is there, Tuvalu is there. There are like 7, I forget all of them. But in this one building, we will join them. So it's kind of like a community with
Okay.
supporting
It's a
small
good idea.
states,
Then you
right?
could use each other's resources. and
We
all that.
share,
Yeah.
we can help cover, we consult each other.
Synergies.
So in that sense, starting from that, yes, the Commonwealth,
Okay.
they do provide technical assistance and support in that sense.
Oh, that's
Whether the
Who pays for
UK,
that?
whether the UK directly helps Belize and stuff, no, not much. We're not ignored, but there's no special thing that we get help directly from the UK in that sense at that point.
And that's
But they
what
do
I
it
was
through the office.
And so I was asking who pay for those
Like the
offices,
Commonwealth.
the com- that-
Yes,
where
it's
you-
coming from the UK.
finance
It's
it.
the UK.
It's
It's coming from the
coming- okay,
UK.
so
So it's not they're not directly
giving the country
giving the
money,
countries, but they help
this-
the group.
They help the group.
They have the small,
Yeah.
the small
Is
group.
sugar a big discussion? Because in terms of trade, I remember Brazil once was having difficulty in discussion, not being treated fairly, and so is that come up? I know we are a sugar
Yeah,
producers.
no,
but-
sugar is not. Sugar is sugar. I mean, no, sugar is not. So, some of the big things is cotton, which don't have anything to do with us. Rice is big because of India and Bangladesh and Pakistan and well, lots of us too, right? But they're the big producers. The fishing is big, which is big for us. We are one of the first countries to sign what they call Fish One, which is the first fish agreement, and we got technical assistance, one of the first countries to get technical assistance to do assessment and infrastructure building for the fisheries industry. So in that sense, we are tops with that, right? And you have to be there to do it. You have to be there.
Yeah,
right? You have to be there.
is our blue economy structure and our blue bond is
Listen,
that heralded?
we
in
are
our
we are the
leadership?
leaders in that. We get called out in a good way for that. So the thing with that is that we had this huge push, as you know, in the first 2 years of the current administration. So now what they're working on is like, how do we move on from that? How do we keep working on it, right? There was this huge push which benefited the country incredibly, right?
Did, sure did.
But so now it's like, what do we do? How do we?
What's next?
What's next? How would you work? And that's what they're doing. It's not that they're sitting there thinking. That's what they're doing. So I really one of the reasons why I'm here doing it, I want to assure the Belizean public that Belize has a very small office, but I am doing my best
But you're
strategically
busy.
to optimize it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not there just flitting around to optimize it because it is an important responsibility if we are going to be a real country and if we are going to be part of the world,
Foreign
part of the
affairs
world
is
Yes,
trade, right? We really have to do it.
And
It's important.
one of the main things is to be present in the first
you have to
instance.
you have to be in the game to play, right? You can't be outside and then try to play. You can't.
Exactly.
So it's very important. And I'll give you another example. People ask like, what tangible things, right? World Intellectual Property Organization provided and continues to provide Belize with help with protecting copyrights, patents, things like that. Remember the Kong Soup fiasco a few years ago?
Banda Blanca.
Well, if Banda Blanca. So if artists, for example, in Belize use the structures, not that we put them in, if that can be protected, can be prevented, right?
Yeah. So that's all in place now.
That's in place now. It's continuing to be evolved. And one really important example is what they call geographical indicators. And the best way to explain that is to give an example with something that everybody know. You know champagne. You know your sparkling wine. Remember all of a sudden you start hearing about sparkling wine?
Prosecco.
Or Prosecco, right? The reason you hear about that is because they have what they call a geographical indicator. So only a product from champagne, only a sparkling wine from the geographical area in France called Champagne can be called champagne.
Right.
You could produce the product anywhere you want, but you can't call it champagne.
No.
You have to call it sparkling wine.
Yeah.
So to transfer the metaphor, the example, for Belize, our number one thing that we're doing, and we're far along with it, is the Maya rainforest cacao.
Okay.
To get a geographical indicator so that stuff grown in Toledo,
Can have that.
you could do whatever you want with cacao anywhere else, but you can't call it that.
Yeah.
Right.
it becomes a niche specific thing branded for Belize.
Are we? Do you
see.
think
We're working on it. No,
yeah.
we're close. We already have the legislation drafted
That
to
sounds-
make the
that-
law,
that
right?
sounds good.
So that's the kind of thing that we work on. That takes a lot of technical assistance, takes a lot of work. And you can't just willy-nilly do it. It has to be done to be recognized by the international body,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can't just decide, oh, I do it and you'll do something.
Yeah.
They not recognize it, right? It has to be recognized internationally to
Yeah.
make it worth anything.
And so it takes a lot of lobbying and a lot of
A
discussions.
lot- and learning how to do it and getting things aligned, and that's what to give shout outs to people who do the work on the ground. I am constantly amazed by young public servants who are technical people who are doing the work, right? Shout out to Kay King at Belipo, amazing team. She went to the international conference, which they paid for, so it didn't cost Belize anything. Let the people know. The conference is a whole week. It's amazing, and she represented. I was head of delegation, but she's a technical person that does the work. Also, shout out to the people at the trade team in Belmopan in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Excellent team. It was led by Andy Sutherland, Tricia Gideon, who is going to do her master's now, but Beresford Codd, Jessica Cuellar, Mr. Gill, and a host of other people there that really do good work for Belize in the country that are not seen. You don't see them
Yeah, behind the scene.
behind the scenes doing good work. Lots of long hours, put in because of the time difference,
No,
Yeah.
we can't underestimate our
No.
connection with the rest of the world.
No.
We don't live on an island.
No.
We have to be out there as much as we can. That's
I-
that's a fact.
I end on something historical. And you can read it in other sources. I have it in my book when I interviewed Assad to show how important the world bodies are to Belize. Lots of people want to know why Belize's independence is the 21st of September. Right? There's been a lot of dispute, Maybe George Price played numbers and, I know all kinds of. But the real reason, do you all know the real reason?
Tell us.
The real reason is that the way the negotiations with the UK and Guatemala was going, we were being pushed into the year. Remember, April was the unrest, and then we're being pushed into the year. And the UN General Assembly in 1981, the UN General Assembly opened and convened on the 23rd of September. So we needed to have independence as close to that date so that there was very little time when we were not recognized by the UN.
Yeah.
So we did it that Sunday, the 21st,
And recognize
and recognized on the Tuesday.
Monday or the Tuesday.
The Tuesday.
Yeah.
All the work was done, of course, leading up to it, and that's why it's so close.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
that date.
Yeah. So they
So
give
it shows-
any time for anybody to object or quit.
yes, to do anything, and that's why it's so. That's why we have to pay attention to the national organization, because our independence, our existence rests on a functioning system and us being a part of it.
Yeah.
So if
Indeed.
people want something to think about in a historical context of why we do these things, that's something that we have to hold on to.
Yes.
Right?
I'll hinge to the United
Hinge to it.
Nations.
And all the organizations that I mentioned, not ACP, but it was CARICOM, are all a part of that. The
So what are
Commonwealth,
you doing at
all the
home?
countries.
And how long are you going to be here?
So I'm here for about 10 days more. I am using the time here to meet with the stakeholders in the different parts of the government to have that personal connection, so that when we communicate,
You update them, they update
they
you,
update
kind
me,
of
and
thing.
so like I'm meeting, and I meet with the CEO. I meet this courtesy visit on the minister just to say hi. But sustainable development, different people too.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy Belize. If you go back, make sure you get a lot of meat pie and
boy.
tacos.
And enjoy the
Yeah.
cool.
Escabeche, escabeche. Thank you guys very much.
As
And,
you
You're more than
Hi.
welcome.
and,
Yes.
That's Harold Young, Ambassador and Permanent Rep of Belize to the United Nations Office, Geneva. Before I go, I have to say, now that you reminded me, I need to say hello to our friends at our embassy in Guatemala City. I was there a few weeks ago doing some paperwork to Rolando and Vanessa and Isais and those at the embassy.
and I have an
They're
excellent
out there.
relation with the ambassadors there from Guatemala.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I mean,
Beautiful.
because I run into him very specifically in a small group because Guatemala recognizes Taiwan and we do too. So I see
Yeah.
them in that circle, right?
Yeah.
So great relations with Guatemala. You know,
Great, great.
there's no nothing.
No,
You just said
no
something there we
animosity.
could talk about for another half
Oh,
an
no,
hour.
no,
The
no,
whole Taiwan
absolutely, yes,
relationship.
yes. Very important
All right.
too. Very
Yes.
important too.
Yes.
So
All
we
right.
have to be there.
Thanks again, Harold, for
Thank you
coming
too.
in. Enjoy your stay. We'll be back, folks. We'll continue to chat. We invited Dylan Vernon to come in and tell us about his report.
Take a break.
Thank you, guys.
Thunderstorms affected mainly central and southern portions of the country last night. Since morning, a few showers were observed over some central and northern areas. Conditions will become drier later today and generally fair weather is expected by this afternoon. The 24-hour forecast is for sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy skies at times tonight. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated, with a few more likely over central and northern areas this morning than over the south tonight. Winds over the open sea and along the coast will be easterly at 10 to 15 knots, and the seas will be choppy. High temperatures today will be around 88 degrees Fahrenheit on the coast, 93 inland, but only 82 up in the mountains. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for mainly fair and warm weather with only isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms developing. There's a low tide at 8:30 this morning and the high follows at 2:10 this afternoon. Another low is at 7:50 this evening and another high at 1:52 early tomorrow morning. The sun rose at 5:36 this morning and will set at 16 minutes after 6 this evening. The moon comes up at 10:54 this morning and goes down at 10:20 tonight. In the tropical weather outlook, tropical cyclone formation is not expected in our area of interest during the next 48 hours. With that, we end this report from the Belize Weather Bureau.
Pelican is more than just brewed in Belize.
Yes, once again, good morning, Belize. 60 minutes away from 8 o'clock.
Yes, sir. You got to be at work at 8 the next time, not out the gate. Chances are you would be late. Be late.
Depends
Well,
how far you are from work.
yeah, Joe. So some people go
know.
downstairs.
There were some people traveling from Corozal all the way early this morning, heading for Belize City.
Virtually now. So
Virtually
they
now,
are just
yeah, they
at
walk
home
out, yes,
on
they
their
walk
couch.
to their computer, to their couch. Indeed, that's true. That's true. So,
I'm
take
wondering
a pick.
how many Belizeans are actually doing that. I mean, what would the ratio be or the percentage?
I don't have an idea, but I know that more and more, especially non-governmental organizations, have a hybrid
Actually, this company
or
just
totally
moved their,
virtual.
here. This company just moved their sales department to work from home.
Yeah,
They just did that a couple
It's
of weeks
happening
ago.
more and more, and students are beginning to go to school more virtually. So,
Yeah.
No, good morning. I heard a bit of your discussion with Dr. Harold Young, Ambassador of Belize to Switzerland, and it's really good to see when ambassadors come home and share the work they're doing and the information about what ambassadors do for Belize abroad.
Yeah, you were out there once.
Yes, I was.
as well,
I
right?
was in Belgium, but it's necessary to do.
Yeah, indeed, and in terms of the these sort of work that he's doing and yourself and of course we have in studios with us Dr. Dylan Vernon, the executive director of the Belize Policy Research Institute at the University of Belize. Again, these sort of outreach type operations need people to understand what it is that you do. Give us a little idea of what this, and for short, it's called Belpre. What is the objective behind Belpre?
Yes. Thanks for having me back on, guys, and Love FM. Belpre is the Belize Policy Research Institute at the University of Belize. So it's affiliated with UB, but is independent because of the nature of its work, which is basically to conduct rigorous evidence-based research that has the objective of influencing public policies on various things, be it economic, social, environmental, governance. And many universities all over the world have these think tanks attached to them.
Yeah.
And the idea is to harness the knowledge of the university
Research, a lot of research.
to affect national development or to influence national development. And that's what UB has as one of its objectives, to be a national university that helps to impact national policy. Belpre then fits into that sort of area very well. It's only been around for 1 year and a half, but we have been doing a lot. I'm the executive director now. And for example, just to give a few examples of the things we have done in addition to the report today, we did the Belizean economy in the 21st century, when and why Belize fell behind and what to do about it. Last year in June, that was looking at a sort of long look at our economic performance. You have before you a bookmark on the Belize Policy Tracker, something we're very proud of, one of our flagships. And when we were deciding what policies we wanted to focus on, we realized that there was no one place that a Belizean can go within government and say, what are the policies on X and Y, and you just find everything there. So we put it together. And we put this tracker together with, there's now almost 90 policies we have on it, by thematic areas, by the agency that developed it, that is responsible, any changes that happen. So it's a tracker of these policies. And the whole idea is that it's a tool to be used by anyone, students, media, who want to know the policy on X. And we keep updating it. We also just this year began to do a very interesting research on the budget. How does Belize do budgets compared to international standards? And that's coming out later this year.
So those are some examples of the kind of things we do. We take a deep dive into issues that we select. And we also, of recent, have begun to receive and do policy development on behalf of the government. We're now doing the National Youth Development Policy for the Ministry of Youth. And soon we might be doing another one for another government ministry. So this is the kind of service that we provide as a part of UB.
Who is we when you say we?
We,
Yourself?
well, the institute attached to the university has its own advisory board,
Right.
headed by Henry Anderson of DFC. We have Dr. Cantan, Leslie Mendes, Dr. Colin Young. We have Beverly Wade, Dr. Palacio, the president of UB himself, myself as board members. And that is the policy oversight. And then we have a staff of 4, including myself, at this point in time, mostly funded by the university. And
Using government funds.
well, you remember that
But
UB
they have-
also
they
gets
have
its,
their-
its,
yeah,
its,
I
its,
know, they
its
have a
own
mix,
funds.
but they're subsidized by
it
government.
would be, I suppose you could say, partly government and partly UB income. How that works, I mean, I
Why I bring that up is
I won't
because something like this, which points fingers at government and how we're governed, it's very interesting and I think commendable that it shows some independence
yeah, I think
and not
yeah.
eventually influenced by
It's
those who
it's
pay
not
the
pointing
piper.
fingers at individuals
No,
or
it's at the
a
system.
particular government. It's looking at the policy on an issue and saying, can we do that better? Is there something that can be improved? And we make recommendations. And as we have done with the economic study and now the money in Belizean politics, it's a span of time of 30, 40 years. So governments come and go within that time. It's not looking at the government in power today.
Yeah.
And so it's a new, it's in Belize, as we know, you put out something that is saying something about governance generally, and somebody will take it personally.
Yeah.
A party will take it
polarized,
personally.
yeah, polarized.
And we have to mature and get beyond that. And then Belpre is going to be doing that, trying to be contributing
but
to
it's
that.
interesting, Dylan, because I've always, and I heard it several times, we accuse universities or young people or young students of not being totally engaged and involved, especially when you compare with other jurisdictions, how engaged and how their students or their young people are movement of policies and movement to make changes and adjustments. How important it is linking with the university, of course, to get that culture maybe developed or instilled?
Absolutely important, Troy. In fact, from the very onset, because we're at UB, we made a decision that we have to involve students. And so for the policy tracker, there were 2 students who did a lot of the research to find the policies. And along the way, they got more aware and more interested in things. For this very document we're going to look at today, the Money in Belizean Politics, we also had student interns help us do the research. And for the youth policy we're developing, students are also involved. So, and we have this plan in the next month or so to have a Belpre student club and a space at the university where students can come and see the work we do and be a part of it. So
Well,
we are
universities are
integrated
known for their
integrating
research.
more in the university as we go along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Because what we used to see, and as a former lecturer at UB, students come in, they sit in the class and then they leave and they go about their own business, but they never get as engaged in many of the discussions.
one of the
that are
criticisms
happening.
And as you know, it used to be different in the 80s.
Yes, yeah, there were more
when we were
engagement.
growing up in the 90s, when students were more involved. And
Yeah, and they seem to have
and
been
now
on top
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, our universities are supposed to be
Could
doing
be
research.
social media, I would think, because that didn't exist in our
it
time
would
of
be, yeah,
engagement,
yeah,
and so it could be a contributing factor.
I think
But-
that's one.
But looking at when you're engaged for these different projects, that's an income earner for you as well, right?
Yes. Whenever because the idea is that the University of Belize would provide some core funding, but most of our funding going forward would be from our own income. And one of the best ways to do that is to do policy development with the government of Belize. I mean, they have international funding, and if, as opposed to be using an international consulting firm, why not use the university's services if it is well organized and producing quality work? And yes, we do get income from that. We've begun to do that. So it's not depending totally on the university.
Is your charter limited, or would you be looking at things like polling, elections, outcome, looking at some of these things? We see some sideline polling done, but could it now look at this sort of holistic, kind of like the Pew kind of structure? Is there a thought, or
You
your
know,
mandate
Troy?
limits you to?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't limit at all, and that's the good thing about the only limitation is that what we do must be rigorous research. It must be objective and independent, and it cannot be partisan or personal attacks. I mean, those are the only limitations we have. So, our academic freedom and intellectual integrity are very important. And one of the things that we have noticed, especially over the past 6 months, is that we are getting a lot of demand. People are coming to us and say, Belpre, how about working on this with us? How about doing this? We don't have the capacity, so we have to increase our resources soon. But the fact that we have a demand shows that, there was a sort of niche for this sort of organization within Belize, where people feel like, that's a credible group that we can work with to offer objective and independent advice on X, Y, or Z. And as far as polling, we will be using polling as part of the research we do to inform the analysis. But we have this long list of things we want to do, and one of them, of course, is to have a polling unit within Belpre that does regular polling. Getting there will be a little bit, because I mean that's a program by itself.
Because for argument's sake, we just come
Yeah.
off of this BTL saga, smart saga.
right.
But it would be interesting to really poll Belizeans on various areas of subject area within that particular context to see where Belizeans really stand. Because what you're hearing is, Ernesto like to refer to it as a squeaky wheel, but
Right.
we don't know if that's only 1/4 of the four wheels.
We go a lot on opinion and what we think, as opposed to evidence-based opinion
Yes.
that is surveyed and put together. And one of the reasons that Belpre, I think, was launched, at least for me, is because even policy, a lot of policy decisions are made without the correct or without the research, over comprehensive research, in-depth research, and so a lot of it is opinion. Why make we do this way, as opposed to what is the best way to do it out of these options? And Belpre is contributing to that in a small way.
You have a lot of questions you could answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
with,
sure.
with
You
the
know.
research.
Because overall, speaking of the same BTL thing, but just from talking to people out there who know me, most of them either didn't care or didn't think it affected them. They were so busy doing their own work.
There was a
You know,
huge
every day.
indifference.
Yeah. And it happens a lot. And then the same people come back and say, "We never consult me." you know. So all that, what do we mean by consultation nowadays? To me, it sounds like they want you to come to your house individually to every person. Talk. It's,
But even in that story of the BTL Peanut saga, there was also some encouraging developments in terms of public awareness being increased with civil society and social partners, and eventually showing that power concedes nothing without a demand, and that seemed to have happened in this case.
Yeah, well, that is true.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of the big important topic is the whole campaign financing that's been around for as long as everybody could remember.
Yes.
Not only in Belize, of course, throughout, as it relates to how we're governed.
Mm-hmm.
You did a survey on that. You know, I said before is I don't think that you were telling us anything new, but you kind of know put numbers to it. But you know, we always we always kind of concluded that, you know, big money has been in politics. For me, I think it started around. For me, I really started recognizing it in 1998 from my experience.
Ditto.
Yeah.
That's what this is showing. No, yes. You know, this topic of campaign finance regulation, you're totally right, has been around for some time. And at the very beginning, since we have a little bit more time, I wanted to say that Devon Paulino, my co-author, and I decided very early on that we would introduce and use the term political finance instead of campaign finance. And the reason is this. Political finance is a overarching term that doesn't only focus on a campaign. Mm-hmm. And money in politics is much more
Than just the
than
campaign.
just the campaign. Mm-hmm. By the time election rolls around, a politician has spent most money over that 5-year period. Clinics during almost every week, handouts, political ads, organizing themselves. There's much more to money in politics than campaigning. Mm-hmm. And so we use a broader term, political finance, that happens year-round. Mm-hmm. And I think that it also makes it more real, because on a daily basis, politicians have to find money to
That's right.
have
Yeah.
the handouts, the people asking
You might
for
have
money.
somebody wait for you right downstairs. for a
And
shakedown.
so the question is where the money comes from.
And I could tell you, we are not politicians.
is
And
what-
when we
what-
go downstairs,
One of the questions here. So
people are waiting.
we the term,
I have personally been approached, you know, by wealthy individuals of a certain ethnic group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, brown man, we are financial. But you don't know what the underlying message is there, right?
Yeah.
Once you're there, you belong to me.
And no, I'll come back to that example. But yes, so what this report does in a nutshell is as Troy is saying, we know, and we know that the both parties have promised since 1998 in their manifestos in black and white, every manifesto except a couple, we are going to enact campaign finance regulation. We are going to enact, and there's
What would that look like, though?
well, what does it look like?
Yeah, a campaign regulation. What would that look like to give you that level
we
of
need
comfort?
to take a break.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you look it up while we take a break?
Yeah,
and
it's 2
come back
minutes
to that?
after 8.
You mean what it would look like if
From a legislation
Yeah,
and
we-
implementation, so we could pick it up right after
Yeah,
with your with your recommendations.
Yeah, maybe going there after a couple.
2 minutes,
Oh,
3 minutes after 8 now, and stuff.
Yeah,
So
we'll take a break. We'll be back.
Looking to perfect your roofing or siding project with precision?
Seven minutes after 8 o'clock, this is the morning show on Love FM, Love TV. In the studios with us is none other than Dr. Dylan Vernon, Executive Director of Belize Policy Research Institute at the University of Belize. And he's been doing research in money in Belizean politics. You had a question just before we went into break?
Yeah, well, certainly I want Dylan to focus on a little bit to start on what his findings were, and basically give us some idea of his recommendation, and then subsequently I wanted to touch base on the implementation component and how
the challenge
and the
of
challenges
enforcement.
of enforcement. Yeah, because somebody
And the
just very
loopholes.
quickly said a culture of politics, a culture of solution and change should be the goal. Young people should be as hungry for an education and training, willing to sacrifice pay. Well, this is in light of what we said. We shouldn't be demonizing politics as a subject matter, as our culture has developed lots of hard and fast areas and environment that drives our politics. So
Yeah.
some people believe that it's a part of our culture, if I'm to read into that.
And also, one of the things that I think we can read into that is that money is necessary for politics. It's not that money is bad for politics. It is how unregulated money, a totally unregulated situation like we have, can lead to problems. And that's what the report is looking at.
Which is a fact.
And after, let me in 3 minutes just summarize what the report says. Since independence, especially since 1998, the cost of elections have increased dramatically. The cost of political clinics, if we use that term, have increased dramatically. We give some numbers in here and make some estimates. The cost of a constituency election that used to be maybe 50,000 around independence is now at the minimum 500,000, up and above $1 million per.
On the low side.
On the low side, and we are being conservative. And if we just use the 31 constituencies at 500,000 times 2, because we have 2 parties, that's already 31 million. That's not even including what the political party might spend. This is what, and that's just for an electioneer. Outside the electioneer, we estimate that there's at least 10 to 15 million spent on these handouts. And if we add up those, you're talking about $80 million just spent on political finance. And that doesn't even include a lot of things like political ads and all that. So it's a lot of money, and it has been increasing. A lot of this comes from private sources. More of it is coming from public sources than before. The trend is that public funds are being used, although we don't have public funding, and that illegal money and dark money is entering the process. What does this all do in terms of problems? The big one is, of course, it feeds corruption. We already have corruption, but this is one of the biggest feeders of corruption, which, we can go into numbers there. The second thing it does is that it causes inequity in participation. You just said that somebody said that, making this to run off on you. But that means that most people have to have a backer, a big backer to run. And the 2 major parties, the dominant parties, have perfected the art. But other people, other parties, independents, have done terribly in our elections. Women there are only 3 women in the House right now. In other words, alternative voices and vulnerable groups have less opportunity to excel in this huge money game. And then there's a growing lack of trust in politicians and political institutions, which the report also shows. And we have a survey that we quote for that. And what then we have is a waste of public resources. And when this is all put together, there is a drag on our development. There's a waste. And so we're saying, look, it's hard and difficult to nip this thing, but we have to begin. We did a sort of survey of what political leaders have said about political finance regulation. And if we just look at the former Prime Minister, Dean Barrow, and the current Prime Minister, both of them basically say, yes, it's something that we need to do, but it's too difficult. Oh, it's hard. I mean, we most likely won't be able to implement it. I mean, words to that effect. And that's one of the reasons that nothing has been done. But the other reason that nothing has been done is that the political parties don't know another way to win elections right now, other than having what I call clientist machines, handout machines that compete against each other. I mean, that's the biggest differentiator if you think about it. And so looking at the experiences of Latin America, the Caribbean, and we look at 15 countries and international practice, what Belizeans have recommended, where we then say, look, let's have a fit-for-purpose approach to how we can begin to implement political finance regulation in Belize. And when we say fit for purpose, we don't mean that we are going to necessarily just do the minimum, but do something that works in Belize and do it in a way that it can be phased in as opposed to all at once.
So you handle like if you're a smoker addict, you can't just drop it.
Right, because something has to
okay.
replace it. If you stop it, something has to replace it. Or, but there are 5 ways of approaching this problem. One is to regulate political parties, to make them register.
That's right.
Because when you do that, for them to compete in
then they have
elections,
to-
you can say, well, to compete in elections, you have to abide by some
These
rules.
yeah.
And what are those rules? And this is just general. Bans on the amount of contributions from individuals and companies. And I won't talk numbers right now. I'm just looking at the options. And that one goes to the
But-
quid
but-
pro quo.
But to ban it means that there has to be disclosure,
Right.
Yeah.
And not to ban it, but to limit it.
or to limit it, has to be disclosure.
Disclosure. And
So keep your
limit
books.
means that I mean,
That is the first-
you can ban totally.
But
or
that
you-
is a big part right there, the disclosure component.
The
because-
disclosure component, which once political parties are registered, you can then say you have to have keep records of donations you get above a certain amount. Because it doesn't have to be every donation. But if we're looking at the corruption part of it, the quid pro quo, the return on investments that Belizeans are concerned about, that is what I think we're saying in the report is perhaps the number one thing to begin to do, to disclose contributions from donors.
But does-
and then the second,
I just want
Yeah,
to stick
okay.
a pin right there before you get to that second point.
The
So
third
you
point,
could
actually,
maybe
yeah.
think about it in the process. I recall listening to then Minister of Education Patrick Farber giving a presentation to UB students, and it says, I need money because of UNO. He was very blatant, very frank. You want, I don't have it, I have to get it from somewhere. How do we get around that concept that culturally we have an expectation from the politician to provide us some sort of support? Because he's saying, if I'm corrupt, it's because of you.
it's
Yeah,
chicken and egg there. It's a chicken and egg there. because-
And so I just wanted
please.
to fit that
Please.
into.
I wrote a
say-
book on that very question, a whole book, 2002. We can come back to it, but it's difficult. But this expectation that the politician, and this is one of the effects of money in politics that's unregulated, the politician becomes the welfare agent, even replacing the government's own roles for services.
Social services.
And so things go through the politician. And when that happens, again, we have waste. Then there's a culture of corruption that young people growing up today, and I've seen it, believe that that's the way it should be. that you should go to your politician when you need something. You go to the politician before you go to the minister responsible for whatever it is. And that's the culture we're brought up in. Now, addressing that is going to be long term, but we have to. But the third point was, of course, decreasing how much elections cost, the spending side. So there's a contribution side, the spending side. How do we decrease the spending side? One is to have fixed date for elections and fixed periods for campaigning. Once you have that, the compressed period means that
Less.
you could spend less. But also you can have upper limits on how much politicians can spend at the constituency level. I like the British way where they have a cap. No party can spend more than, let's say, 200,000. And how much you're allowed to spend in that level depends on how many people are in the constituency. So it might be 100,000 depending on how many people are there. So putting caps on spending is one of the ways. And
And that shouldn't be difficult to do. Some of these things.
No,
You know, because we're sitting here and saying, hey, it work because we will make it work. You know, it has to be more
we
than
have
that.
to begin, and
If,
it's difficult. but-
Political party exists to win elections.
Yes.
So why would I cap myself from giving me a lesser chance of winning the election?
That is
As
why
a cynic.
That is why it hasn't happened, because
That's right.
the political parties like it so.
'Cause we
like it
kind of
so.
forget that it's political parties that are in government.
Right. And so the same people who we're asking to implement political finance regulation are
That's
the
right,
ones
and the same ones who depend on it.
will be affected by it. So they're going to be the biggest barriers. In that situation, the same thing that happened perhaps with the BTL speednet thing is going to be. It doesn't take Columbus to discover that we have public demand for this, and there's been some over time, but there's not been the level of groundswell of demand that is needed, where politicians feel that they can get away with it. There's also the public funding option that some countries use. Even Barbados have some of that right now, where after the elections in, say, in Barbados, and you show your figures, and you can get back some money.
But we do that
no.
here too. We have community vote. We give every
Well,
representative right now a portion of the consolidated fund to service their constituents.
Which
Well,
is
we
public
don't
funds.
have public funding officially, like on a legislation, but we do have public funding in action.
Yes.
In fact, as I said before, the proportion of political finance in terms of where it comes from has been increasing from public resources, where politicians find more and more creative ways of using public funds to give back to people.
To boost their popularity or to
And-
make them
And as you
look
say,
more benevolent.
there's constituency funds that basically that's what most countries do, provide the elected representative with some funds so that they can contact their
Here's a view.
and before that, just to end this point, not only is that fund the anchor money now for some handouts, but governments over time have created new programs, constituent development program, which is now like 6-point-something million, seasonal gifts with Christmas. What's it called?
Christmas chair.
Christmas chair, and things like that.
But-
so
but-
the
but
money
there-
is
there's-
in
using
the
public
millions
funds.
of dollars.
So there's a rub,
public
right?
funds.
Because here's a question. It says, how do you separate the politician from the representative? Isn't that the role of a era representative to provide that kind of support? And so it comes back
The
again.
answer is no.
You see?
The answer is constitutionally, how we are set up, the representative is supposed to be in the House of Representatives making policies and laws for the country. And some of them will be appointed to the cabinet, and so you become part of the executive.
Yes.
But the system is not set up for a politician to go in his or her constituency and provide services that the government provides. You should, at the very most, say, look, Ms. Jane and Mr. Joe, the way to do this is to go to the Ministry of such and such, and this is the process, and
It used to
and
be
you
like
do
that,
that.
you know.
But you do not bring the service to your clinic and say, yeah, I'm going to give out food and to my people line up outside of these political clinics, and the politician handing out bags of food. I mean, if we think about that, and we expand that example to other things, to land, to gravel, to housing, that is very messed up. That we have a system where
right there.
there's a transactional thing happening on a daily basis where the politician
But
is
this is
saying,
the part that I can't get wrong, right? Because I'm the cynic in this whole process, because everything we do is transactional for the most part. We see it even in the bastion of democracy with the United States. We have a transactional, accused transactional president who basically, they're the ones that normally look over us and say, this is why you have to do this and do it this way. But in practice, what we're seeing is totally contradictory. Brings me back again to the Patrick Farber statement, because that was one of the first time that I heard a politician, sitting representative, say openly, I am corrupt because you are corrupt. You, the people, the masses. So if we have this sort of culture that is built in what people will call the real world, how do we now say to these populists now that, you know what, all that dependency that you had on those small change that me and Ernesto hand out every so often when we go downstairs, not come ask me for nothing again and eliminate that whole process. And you have somebody who is sneakily doing that through some back door, giving an advantage.
So-
in order for me to compete, I have to live up to that, because there will be workaround. I can't get it from you, I'll go get it at the store over there. There'll be a workaround. So how we
So the mantra of the PUP, todos ganamos.
starts
What
there.
does that mean?
That's a real world statement.
For me, it means I will make
it's-
Belize better. That we won't have that dependency syndrome.
some people
So-
see it as a transactional statement.
Yeah, it's
Exactly,
a transactional
exactly.
statement.
So
I just see
how
it
do
as a
they
transactional
mean it?
statement.
Yeah. But I mean,
know,
Troy,
If you
it's
ask
difficult.
politicians, Dylan, if you ask them about how much they spend, they won't quote you no big numbers like that, you know. Those big numbers, they will tell you, yes, there's a cost, but they won't tell you,
know, when-
that I spent $500,000 on a campaign.
Well, they do.
They
do.
that numbers
They
are
tell
going
you
to
need
be,
money.
They'll tell you they need money.
When I did the research for that book, and I interviewed some 69 politicians, both active before independence, etc., and political actors, they were willing to say how much they spent, more or less, per vote, per constituency. I mean, per vote in a constituency for an election, and they were willing to. Some were willing to say more or less how much the election cost, and this was anonymous, off record, and that's where we get some of these figures from. But clearly, because there are no regulations for disclosure, we don't know exactly how much. But you mentioned Patrick Farber and his statement about corruption. Another one that we look at in the book is the Saldivar-Durman affair, where, if you recall what John Saldivar said when he was asked about these funds, that eventually I'm paraphrasing here, that it was for helping my constituents. I mean, that was more or less what
And
he
he
said.
said he helped through football and sports.
Right,
And, things
and
like that.
and remember that, I mean, he denies all allegations of any illegal activity, but there's nothing that prevented legally Saldivar from getting money from Durman as campaign money.
No.
It's not illegal.
He said that.
And he
It's
said
not
that,
illegal.
and he's
I
right.
did- I did. He's
and he
right.
did say that everybody does it, which is true. So the point that we are making here is that we saw some of the paper trail and some of the problems that can come around money in politics, especially now from a foreign source. And it's a great example of
we
we
can't-
must be
we
able
can't sit here
to,
and
to say that
and-
nothing can be done
and
about
let the
it.
discussion just go on. It's going to be hard.
Yeah,
We got to
yeah,
pinpoint
yeah,
some
yeah.
areas where we have to.
But I think we're
change thing or
making
put in the
progress, though,
rules.
Ernesto, because we're discussing the issue, which has not been something that
Okay,
we wanted
we
to
love
be,
to discuss issues.
that to be forthright with.
The book that you wrote is probably sitting on a shelf and never read again.
But we
by a
have never been
politician.
forthright in
Right.
calling it how we are seeing it now.
But it doesn't.
Right
it
now-
doesn't. It doesn't mean that you stop writing the book,
That's right.
or you stop
Agree.
putting out the
Agree.
reports.
No, you can't be doing it.
You know, I remember. In fact, it was Yasser Musa, my friend, reminding me that 26 years ago I presented the report of the Political Reform Commission to his father, Prime Minister then Said Musa, and just 2 weeks ago I presented this report to his son, Karim Musa, and both of them had similar things in terms of the political finance thing. And so it's like, Dylan, you're a waste of time. And the fact is, absolutely not.
And that came from Asad Schumann?
They've been, no, that came from other people.
Oh.
But if you just say that it's hard and we have to stop,
Right. No.
then nothing
But
changes.
at
You might
some
as well
But at some point,
pack up and migrate or
you know,
something.
we're getting caught up like Trump, right? No, he
But
has to
at some
decide
point in
they're going
time-
to nuke these people or give up. you know?
What history shows is that at some point in time, something will catch, and the moment will be there for action to happen.
Unless some
And-
kind of leadership lets it.
And that's what I call radical hope.
Yeah.
But having a deep dive like this, a toolkit
Well-
like this, is already beginning to have some repercussions in terms of the social partners using it to develop their own new advocacy for political finance regulation, which I think you're going to be hearing about
From
soon.
what I'm seeing, the present administration is going through a lot more scrutiny than in the past. What I'm seeing, and I think it's a result of these. More people are getting more educated. There is less fear of being victimized. We still use that. Oh, I know, become a victim. But I think less and less that's becoming a tool that they use as an excuse.
And we have done difficult
And,
things.
yes, we're doing that.
We have done difficult things as a nation, including
You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have another book to write, right? At this
you
the next half an hour.
We want to take a break and come back.
I'll take a break and come back because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want.
then we
stay-
get into the recommendations.
Yeah.
And only that. This can be timely. Another election is coming up, the municipals in March. We already had 2 conventions with the PUP, one in Corozal, one in PG. Be good to know
And
how
you-
much
you have
money
UDP convention
went
too.
into those, because that is part of campaign finance.
It is.
That's before even it
The
comes up.
inter-party contests have become more and more expensive.
Yes,
And they even have their own bacon houses.
yeah. Right. And then
Which is showing you
well,
how far this
well,
power
you
has
give
gone.
$50. 8:30, we'll take a break. We'll be back, continue our chat with Dr. Dylan Burden. Welcome back, everybody. 27 minutes away from the hour of 9 o'clock. And the discussion, the chatting is Dr. Dylan Vernon, Executive Director at Belize Policy Research Institute at the University of Belize. And, of course, his Money in Belizean Politics, Breaking the Regulation Deadlock. And I think we still want to come.
That's some of the,
They were saying
some of the recommendations.
Recommendations of how,
and
how
the
we are doing this, you know.
implementation.
No, the broad areas that I outlined us now are the ones that the recommendations come under, and we add one more, which is of course the sanctions and what happens if these things that you set up are violated. But we have 13 recommendations in the report that we make, and this is based upon international practice, the regional comparison, and recommendations made by Belizeans over time. And the two that we focus on in terms of Belizeans, Darrell Bradley made a set of very comprehensive recommendations, and the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry also did, supported by the National Trade Union Congress. SPARE and the Reform Commission.
SPARE still exists?
Made in the past.
Oh,
no,
made.
still
Oh,
exists.
sorry. Okay.
The two political reform commissions, including the People's Constitution Commission, have made recommendations too. That one isn't out yet, but it is. The recommendations are looked at. What we are saying is this: look, we have to begin somewhere. Let us first of all anchor the need for political finance in the Constitution. That is, to have a normative statement in there that says Belize will regulate political parties and political finance. And that is going to be where the act that we are proposing will have its backative.
And that is being proposed?
That is being proposed.
Okay.
And also being proposed is that fixed date for elections, limited, in the Constitution, limited campaign periods. Now, those three things are going to, in the Constitution, are going to be in very constitutional language, broad language, but we're saying also, let's have a regulation of political parties and political finance act separate from the Representation of the People's Act, which deals with elections. And we're saying separate because we see this as a big issue that needs its own regulation and regulatory framework other than having the Elections and Boundaries Commission do its thing with making elections fair and free. And we also need, one of the recommendations here, a commission, and this has to be a new commission that is going to oversee the regulation of political parties and political finance. It can't be, in our minds, the Election and Boundaries Commission, especially in its current state, because political parties make up the membership. So we're saying a commission that is made up of non-political party appointees, and we recommend how that could happen.
Let me do what Troy said. Let me stick a pin here. I was listening to a news story yesterday. This whole Israel and Gaza, you know. So they've come out now, and they say they're going to form a commission to study. And the commentator said, "You see, you know how you delay something? Create a commission."
Yeah. But this commission will
we
be
have an integrity
constitutionally
commission,
enshrined.
and we don't know where they are.
No, if we go down that route, we do nothing.
That's another research for you.
And but the Act will have this commission and a secretariat that will be created, and it will. We're saying let's phase in things in this way. Have the constitutional amendments made before the end of next year, and enact the act before the end of next year. And for the next election before 2030, let us at least begin to do the disclosure of contributions, at least that one. And then after the elections, we do, for the next election, the spending limits and the public funding bit. And so we phase things in over time.
But where does the whole reforming of the constitution come into this?
It is
That
simply
has to
this.
come first, right?
Yes, it has to come first
That has to happen soon.
soon. And one of the reasons we think it's important to put in the Constitution is because there's something called in the literature legislative backsliding, where you have an act and it doesn't have any constitutional
That's right,
backative, and so
It goes on.
Yeah, it goes on. But once you have that,
I mean, it was promised in 1998, right?
it's
Well,
It's-
some,
it's-
some reform took place.
Yeah, some reform took place.
in 2000 or thereabouts.
yeah. But if even I mean talking about
How do you, looking at your report, how does, because most of the discussion to me is happening at a level where the base of the pyramid, where the bulk of the voters and the electorates lie, how much consultation we have done with them as it relates to campaign financing, and whether or not this even come up on their radar, for argument's sake. That might be an intellectual discussion we're having, and they're like,
You mean the ordinary citizens?
yeah, they were like,
But we go back to everything. They're
I'm
Listen,
talking about where the base of the
I
pyramid
mentioned
is.
to you that we have decades of public skepticism when it comes to government.
Yeah, but at
So they figure
mostly
it's
at
not
the
going to work.
intellectual
It's not
level.
going to work.
to answer the question, there are two sources of information that the report looks at to say that there is a desire. We don't know the numbers, but there is a demand among the public for regulating campaign financing, because one of the biggest concerns the public has is public corruption, political corruption.
Well, that-
poll
that's
after poll shows that.
Corruption.
And people instinctively know the link that has to that. So, and the advocacy that has been done by the NGO groups, by the media, including the Belize, the BCCI, shows that people are concerned about this. I mean, there are organizations with membership, but also polls that have been
But
done.
isn't there members probably part of the culpable group?
Well, you're
How do
talking
you
about-
even know that? Yeah, because the point is that
you can assume that
that the business community are normally the ones that are accused of participating in any kind of corruption, and so how does you dovetail
But
and
again-
create
but-
the separation?
but
Well,
again-
you know, I suppose, I mean, the Belize Chamber of Commerce has been asking for campaign finance regulation for a while. And if you listen to what they're saying, they're basically saying we need a leveler playing field and more predictability when it comes to doing business. That is, I think that most business people would prefer
I would think so
not to have to play both parties off, and not to have to.
I agree with that.
How I get a
We are
contract.
just talking because of what we think we know.
And that the procurement, when they go out, you have to give them a little bit back if you get it. And in fact, one of the things we recommend here is that contributions should be banned from at least 3 sources. Foreign sources, except for the diaspora Belizeans living abroad. Banned from companies that have contracts with government over a certain amount, and banned from any illegal or illicit sources. And then, I mean, these things are going to be hard to do, but ban these contributions totally. The other countries have done this, and other countries have experienced the difficulties of doing it, but they're also
Which countries you
wins.
see as a beacon right now
You
that
know-
you would want to hang your hat on?
You know, Jamaica has done some good things quietly. It has a ban on contributions. It has a sort of return after the elections, when once you put in your report, assistance to candidates. It's not perfect, but it's a beginning. And
So what happened to their garrison politics?
it's still there,
oh, okay.
but something is being done. Watchdogs have come up, NGOs that monitor how this is being done, and it's a process. I mean, Belize is 45 years old. Countries have been doing campaign finance and political finance regulations for decades, especially Latin American countries. And some of them have problems more than others, but in each case, it has made a difference.
Yes.
And in
They
each
must make a
case,
difference.
there needs to be the plugging of loopholes on a regular basis.
It's not gonna
But
be
that's
perfect.
life.
It's not going to be.
Look at the
perfect,
procurement debacle that happened recently is perhaps being under investigation by the Auditor General. We have to keep plugging holes. It's hard to do, but we can't just say, oh, it's impossible and we won't deal with it. So kudos to the government for saying we're going to look at this procurement
Right.
process and try to improve it. And the same thing and same attitude must be then given to political finance regulation. It's going to be difficult, but we have to begin. And we cannot use the excuse that, oh, people are just find a way to get over it
Always find a way.
and do nothing, because that's a recipe for a failed state.
And we would agree. I mean, I would have no difficulty with looking at where we are right now and how impactful any sort of campaign financing component would make a change. But what it is that we believe we want to change it for. Because the idea is, if you look at the electorate and they're saying, I've been doing this for donkey's years, and human beings are creatures of habit. We don't want those changes. So if you reach a point now where I was used to having these sort of support coming in through this way, because this is the way I know, how do you say to the populace that whoever will build that cap, whichever politician at that point in time will build that cap.
You have to be multi-party approach. You know, the Prime Minister said in a recent interview earlier this year that I wish that there was some regulation or limit on, say, even the campaign period, because it would mean less work for me to raise money. And similarly, a lot of politicians, no one say a lot, but an increasing number of politicians are saying that this demand that people have on politicians have to change. People outside my house in the morning, and so they find that distasteful. But so there's something there to work on. Saying if you find that distasteful and if you think that it's taking a lot of your time, then that could be something you work with others who want to do something about it as a motivation. But getting there won't be easy, because the status quo works to get elected or to get elected. And so only the pressure of people on both parties will have that change. Because both parties say to you, of course we want it, it's important.
Well,
They've
it's
said it
a
repeatedly,
politically
repeatedly,
correct
repeatedly.
thing to say.
But the fact that they haven't done anything is becoming a problem. Because
But when you close the door, they'll say, "Well, this is a real world, you know." But publicly, I will be the only one who is saying I'm a cynic to the whole idea, because most persons are going to say that it's a politically correct thing to say that, yeah, we need to control how we spend, we need enough to buy votes with all these.
but that particular one,
You can't forever live
But
without
when the door is
people
closed,
are seeing
say, "Boy."
through the constant promises
Correct.
on this thing, and the politicians are going to be squirming more and more
That's
when they
right.
talk about this, because they know.
You can't live with that kind of population forever. The people have to have a different look towards you.
Yeah.
And we see it happening right now. You can't get up every day and say, look, because it can't work, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. We have two words we use a lot: corruption, transparency, and accountability. We know we've broken laws. We know we've hurt the people. We know we've taken public funds. But nobody has ever been held accountable.
Never
And
been
this
held
is in
accountable.
everybody's head and mind. I say, well,
Yeah.
we know you're
Well,
Doing it to
we have
us.
famous statement made on these things. We have the Dean Barrow statement, you know, of legal guilt, factual guilt, you know.
well,
To
we
the
have
winners
make it
goes the
legal guilt.
spoil. We go to the winners goes the spoils, you know. Election have consequences. So all of these things have been done passing, christen their picnic first. The leadership of this country has ingrained that idea that I must win because I must get in charge and I must win at all costs. So I keep asking the question, who and will build that cat in any real environment, because that is the advantage that they have.
A group of good
We-
people, good intention. That's what the road to hell is filled with
We-
intention. But you know, we
we
need
the
some good
people.
intention people. Yeah.
And
Remember todos ganamos.
no, I look. The report acknowledges the difficulty of this issue, not only because it's not only difficult for Belize but for others, but also that the political parties will have to be convinced, both of the especially dominant ones, of a strategy that works. It has to be done together. But you know, one of the things that is in here that I began to raise the last time when I was here was that of we do not have any public funding or support for political parties or political candidates in Belize. Not even, say, equal access to media. We don't have state media anymore, and it's basically pay for play. But one of the things we're saying here is that a lot of money in Belize is spent on political ads on radio and television. And that is one thing that requires more transparency. The ads that you mentioned a while back that just appear on the television, you don't know where they come from. The recommendation here is that all political ads must have something under it that says
Endorsed by this.
endorsed or supported by, and that the commission I spoke of should record all these ads. In fact, in other words, there must be
A
record of who is paying for these ads. I know that the media might find that difficult because
Might
they
limit
might
their
decrease
revenue.
the number of ads. But imagine we live in a country and we see this ad comes on and nobody know where it come from.
My God, tag
It
says a
is-
paid political ad, but that's it.
That's it.
A paid political ad from home.
Yeah.
And then you begin to connect the dots. Okay, if that company is paying for that ad or that individual is paying for that ad, then what is the motive behind it? What is the quid pro quo? Or if you don't know, then it leaves even a greater sense of a lack of transparency and a spending, a lack of accounting for spending. So that's one that is in there that I'm sure that will also cause some debate and controversy if it ever gets to that point.
One quick question. When you look at some of the other jurisdiction that you may have studied, how and what did they do when they turned the corner? Which country you would say that did a dramatic turn of the corner that in your research that you could point to and say this is what and this was the reaction maybe from their citizens. This is what happened to them maybe in the next election upcoming. Something to kind of say that it would not be detrimental politically to whoever make the decision, even though there might be a bipartisan arrangement. They will find a way to separate you, you know, and say that he do it, not me.
And we're talking process here. there are 3 Caribbean countries that have progressed to some extent: Antigua and Barbuda, Jamaica, and Barbados. And in all 3, the demand came from people, from organizations and people, that something must be done about this. It also came from external sources. Every election observation mission that has come to Belize, if you read it, it recommends the need for campaign finance regulation. We got reports from parties and from individuals, blah, 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 blah. So there's also the international sort of recommendation. But those 3 countries have lessons to teach us, and we record them here. The Latin American countries, we look at Mexico, Colombia, and Costa Rica, and we chose them deliberately: 1 neighbor, 1 Central American, 1 South American. They have robust, very comprehensive legislation, everything you can think of. And it works to some extent. There are always attempts at loopholes and enforcement. The loopholes are patched, but it's just like
Work in progress.
we do for other things,
Yeah,
like
but-
environmental law. You have to go back and patch something.
But at least you have an avenue to.
But those are what I call the Rolls-Royce models of legislation, and we can get there like that. But that is why we're saying let's begin with this constitutional amendment, phase in an act, beginning with contribution, going to spending, and then having a public financing element, which the public financing element is going to be controversial too. But we are already using public funds for campaign financing and political finance. So why not have a situation where some percentage of the budget, topped up by private donations to this fund, can be used for contributing to the expenses of political parties and political campaigning, including training for political parties internally, having more women be candidates for elections, that kind of thing. It's not a pipe dream. I think these things can happen.
No, I think it could happen.
It's a matter of the political will, which is in very, very low levels at this time. But the report, we think, is a tool that can be used by any advocate, any politician, stakeholder, government, civil society group to guide how we can get to begin this process.
Another case study which is in relation to this that you could probably get some of the students to work on is how the UDP's campaign financing is being affected by where they are today. Because I keep hearing they are limited in funds now, and so you can fall from grace.
The trend, of course, is that the opposition always supports campaign finance regulation more than the government in power.
When they're in
And the cycle is like that.
And that is why I tell you, it doesn't matter if you have this bipartisan approach, you'll find a way. I could recall, and politicians have a way to make sure everybody know that me in charge or the media lead. When they did a Restore Belize back sometime back, they did this as a bipartisan issue. You had a photograph taken, it was put on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. The embargo is coming, John Briceño is behind him. And then the headline says, "We lead, others follow." So even though it's a bipartisan, they found a way to make it political and upsetting that the UP then say, "I don't want to be a part of your committee anymore." And so the whole thing really kind of got watered down. So again, these are the things that, because it's a popularity contest. At the end of the day, I want to win. It's first past the post. I just need one to get past you. And so I will do what it is to be able to win, because I must win to make changes.
Right.
If I don't win,
Right.
I'm just a pressure group.
And if you don't play the game that exists, you can't win. And so
But you see that
changing the game a little bit.
That's
I mean,
another
that
area
is
we have to look at. I mean, you are telling me that if somebody doesn't beat the pavement door to door, and it's loud because we love pick up anybody loud now and put them on the news and radio. You know, if I set up on the street corner tomorrow and start to preach, you know, I'm going to get some radio time, and I'm going to get some air time. I'll get a lot of social, you know, the internet time too. So
If you want to get a copy of the report, it's free in e-copy. You can download it from the Belize Policy Research.
Trucker, I could use this.
You
to
could use
download?
that, yeah. There's a QR code you can use. And we also have a brief of it. I gave each of you
This one is good.
4-page summary
Yeah.
Yeah, this
that
is
is
good.
there.
It's
And
condensed.
we'll be doing other things to share it. But if I can end with repeating something I said at the launch, which was on the 28th of July, just last month, that in a sense what we're saying here is that we all in Belize lose when unregulated money dominates our politics in the way it does now. We all lose when a small number of people supply most of the political finance. We all lose when most people cannot afford to get into politics and when the playing field is not level. We all lose when public resources are used or stolen for political influence, including for political gimmicks. We all lose when our taxes end up being used for partisan favors, instead, for example, for building a new fire station or repairing the roof of a police station. We all lose when contracts are given to partisan or family favorites who provide services at higher prices. And we all lose when politics, under the guise of public service, becomes a means for self-enrichment. And I think that loss collectively for a nation is incalculable, but one that we have to begin to address, because at the end of the day, it is hampering our sustainable development, our human development.
Okay.
No
Well,
progress.
certainly want to thank you, Dr. Vernon. We covered quite a bit there, extended time and all.
Yeah.
But it is a topic that's been trendy for a very long time. And
Maybe we'll convince a couple of persons.
yeah, I mean,
to push it
the question is, like I said, it's more implementation that keeps people, concerned. I mean, most persons, like I said, will tell you in a public forum that, yeah, I think we need to control how we spend, and that is going to curtail corruption and maybe not eliminate it, but certainly
it's
curtail
mitigate.
it. Mitigate as much as you can. But at the end of the day, we are faced with a electorate that has gotten habitual use, and politicians that have gotten habitual use of political parties. So the point is, my question is always, when it is that somebody is going to decide that we turn the corner, and I'm yet to feel that vibe building on both sides of the equation. You know, the electorate, someone does endeavor, but I don't got time to worry about that.
History shows us, including our own, that there are moments when these things happen, and the right moment will
waiting for
will
that
come.
watershed moment.
Well, I think Dr. Vernon will always be on the right side of history, right?
well, I applaud the whole point of research, because having fact-based decision making is very, very important. And more than me, we have always said here, we want more of these data to be presented, even though some people might be cynical and thinking that it's useless sometimes. Sometimes it gives you the impetus to be able to start that conversation. And while you may say that nothing new, it's always good to have. But I poll 10 people, and 6 of them or 7 of them say this is the way they would like to see things
I
happen.
mean, like you said at the beginning, we all know that there's a problem with campaign finance and the promises that have been made. But for the first time, it is put in this way, where it documents it. It says who says what, who promised what. It looks at what other countries do, what Belizeans have been saying, and it also gives recommendations that can be appropriate. And so it's a tool to be used by anyone.
Right.
Yep. And I already have a couple of people will be asking for the report. So
Yeah.
there you have some interest.
Well, as we say goodbye this morning, like I always say, we don't want to tell you what to think. We
Yes,
just want
sir.
you to think.
Yeah, let's say thank you to Armin this morning for doing a good job on Love FM. Want to thank Rich for being our producer, along with Manuelo, our producer as well. We want to thank Giovanni Castro this morning for being the master control operator, and Andrew Jones for streaming. And all of you, through the length and breadth of this beautiful jewel of ours, we thank you for joining us. If you're streaming, we're certainly glad and welcome you as well. And we trust that this morning's discussions with our guests was engaging and informative. As usual, if you're celebrating a birthday on this 18th day of August, we say happy birthday, happy anniversary as well if you're celebrating one, and urge you to come back again tomorrow where we'll do this all over again just for you. We do know we do know that you have choices where you get your engagement and information from, and we're glad that you choose love. And Ernesto, because you choose love, we always say,
Belize and beyond.
Thanks for choosing love. Bye-bye.
Belize and good morning. I say good morning, Belize, and good morning. And how are you this morning?
Wake up every morning, life go to work and get it life.